What is going on, y'all? Welcome to my story of how I really got into fitness and how it really just became a huge part of my life and where I am today. So I'm going to start off all the way in the beginning. I wasn't even always this guy, not even close. So I've been on and off with fitness since I was about 13 years old, and but for most of my life, I was inconsistent, huskier, overweight, and then, I just had zero confidence. I'm talking always a nice guy. I was never able to talk to girls. Always just a little husky, chunky. Didn't look like how I really wanted to look, right? So the reason why I ended up starting lifting was I was about 13 years old because I was I started playing football. My dream was to be in the NFL, right? And so I had a buddy of mine that showed me how to train a little bit, and I know I needed to get stronger, right? In the NFL, you got to be strong. But I was never really consistent. But when it came to football, right, I played up until high school, but I realized that I went to a serious football camp one time, and I realized that I probably wasn't going anywhere with football. Seriously, how I really wanted to. That NFL dream died pretty quickly. So I quit like about my freshman year in high school, and then sophomore year, I had to transfer to this other school. This is now my third high school within 2 years. So I was kind of a fuck up. Used to really get in trouble, but anyway, I got put on depression medication, and they mentioned that weight gain would be a side effect. We didn't really know how much, right? And I probably put on like 50 pounds. So I gained a ton of weight, and then started getting made fun of for like the first time in my life, and people started calling me tits. And you can imagine at that point that my confidence was completely shot. I had never really been made fun of before in my life. I honestly was kind of slightly a bully growing up. Can't even lie to you. So this is probably my fucking karma, to be honest with you guys. But yeah, being called tits really sucked. I just had absolutely no confidence. And then like on top of that, like I mentioned earlier, this was like my third high school. So I wasn't really, I didn't have a lot of friends. Like it was hard for me to make friends during that period of my life just because I was bouncing around for so much. And I was a mess, And then I ended up transferring to my last high school, right? And this is still my sophomore year, my second half of my sophomore year. This is now my fourth high school. And I remember I had to wear a uniform, and I was so self-conscious about my boobs, like my man titties, that I would wear compression shirts made by Under Armour, and I would wear them under my polos to hide my boobs. And then that was kind of where I decided that I needed to change. So after like going to that high school for a semester, I wanted to show up new for next semester. So I lost some weight over the summer. I lost about 30 pounds, 40 pounds, and people noticed, right? And then for the first time, I actually gained just a little bit of confidence, right? It felt really good to like be noticed for that. But after that, I just kind of coasted. I did just enough to kind of get me through school, right? Just so I didn't look fat, but I never like pushed myself to actually becoming something. I was just getting by at that point. And then I got to college, right? So, right, I graduated high school, got to college, and gained the typical freshman 15, right? Still in the gym here and there, but no structure, no discipline really. Especially with my diet. You already know how it is in college. You're drinking, you're eating whatever you want. They let you out on the loose. It's crazy. And then eventually in my sophomore year, I had gotten into a relationship. And this was with my ex, and I got comfortable, as you can imagine. I got so comfortable that I blew up to 280 fucking pounds. I was drinking all the time. I was eating whatever I wanted. I was smoking. I was going out. I just had no real direction in my life at the time, and it wasn't a good point in my life. And then I remember waking up, looking at myself in the mirror, right, at one point, and thinking just like, if I'm gonna keep going like this, I'm gonna end up like this forever. I had a couple family members that I knew that were, pretty out of shape, morbidly obese, and I didn't want that my whole life. I didn't want that, and I knew I didn't want that in the future for my kids, right? So that was really like my breaking point. Was like, dude, I'm like 280 pounds, looking in the mirror, just like, Jesus, man, like we gotta fix this. So that's when I finally started to take it seriously. So I lost a lot of weight. Got all the way down to about 188 pounds. Crazy. But I didn't look like how I wanted, right? I always dreamed of having that lean physique, like a Rambo, Rocky. So I idolized Sylvester Stallone a little bit growing up. So I always wanted to have that lean look. So I ended up just looking skinny fat. So no muscle, no real structure. It sucked. And being skinny fat is almost as bad as being fat. And it was not fun. And for years after that, like, I pretty much stayed like that. I was better, but I was in the gym, but I was just still, like, inconsistent. Like, my weight would fluctuate. I'd go up, I'd go down. But I never got above 220 again. I made that like a promise to myself that I would never get above 220. I just wasn't locked into where I needed to get to that lean, aesthetic physique. So, a couple years later, right, then I ended up moving to Denver with my ex at the time. And that's kind of when things really changed for me. I noticed everybody out there was in shape. Like, nobody was really out of shape. And that really forced me to, like, level up, because I was like, man, like, everybody's in shape. Like, everybody's outside. I wanted to go do outdoorsy things, stuff that I'd never done before. And I just knew, like, I'm like, well, I need to get in better shape. Snowboarding, too. I already snowboarded. So I was like, man, if I get in better shape, snowboarding is going to be a lot more fun, because I can be able to move faster, hit turns better, hit some jumps. And being in that environment forced me to level up. I loved it. And then I started by myself for a while, and I was consistent, but still not getting where I wanted to. So I hired a coach for the first time. And I hired the wrong coach. I asked him, I was like, hey, I want to put on muscle, I want to bulk. He said, okay. I bulked. I looked like absolute shit. I looked fat again. I didn't look great. And it just sucked. It did not work for me. And I just wasn't lean. You should be getting lean before you bulk up. And so I decided to fire him, obviously, and I got a new coach. And this is where my life really changed when it came to fitness. So for the first time in my life, I had actual real accountability, and I saw real results. I was with this guy for 6 months. I really leveled up my nutrition, leveled up my consistency at the gym. I was in it consistently, every single, on point. So when I left him after 6 months, I stayed very consistent at the gym. But consistency is the key, right? But here was the problem again. I still didn't get to how I wanted to look. And I started realizing that I probably needed help, but I also started realizing that my partying was catching up to me, right? So alcohol. I would go out a lot. I still was drinking, while I'd go do fitness. So you can still lose weight and drink, but you won't look like how you want to look, because alcohol really will hold your protein synthesis back and just detrimental recovery, all that. So it was really my lifestyle that was holding me back this whole time. And at the time, I was about to get ready for EDC, and I was like, man, I'm going to show up. I want to be in shape. I want to be there with my shirt off, because I'd always been going to festivals. I never would be at a festival with my shirt off because I was just too nervous. But anyway, got pretty in shape for EDC, but I still didn't look like how I wanted, right? And that was simply just because I was still drinking before I went to EDC. So, and that was kind of where I started to pinpoint the thing. I was like, man, if I would have stopped drinking, I probably would have looked a lot better. And then when I was in Denver, everything started to kind of slowly fall apart. The drinking started to catch up to me. I ended up losing my job. And I needed a restart. And so I decided to move to Chicago to get my life back together after being in Denver for 4 years. And I loved my time there. I learned how to be a man there. But it was really that time where I was just like, hey man, like I really got to get it together. And the craziest part about all this was at the time, I was single for a while. And then I had actually, before I left Denver, a month before, I met my now fiance, Bella. And we stayed in touch. But how we met was just drinking. And like I met her at a bar. And we ended up just hanging out for like a month straight, and it was cool. But we stayed in touch, and we ended up doing long distance and building something real, which is pretty cool. And the truth is, I believe that why she wanted to be with me is because she saw something in me. She knew how determined I was to like stop drinking, to build a physique, to build my online coaching business, because that was also on my mind, because I had lost so much weight before. I had so much experience that I really thought that I could help people, which is what I do now. And I think that's really why she wanted to date me. And, but honestly, the truth is, I mean, the reason why I bring this up is the old version of me would have never, ever talked to a girl like Bella. Would have never approached her. Would have been in my head too much. Everything. And I didn't have any confidence before. But what I realized is that I built confidence. And where did that confidence come from? That confidence came from the gym. I built that confidence by showing up when I didn't want to show up, staying on track with my nutrition, and just not breaking promises to myself. Because there were so many times I didn't want to go to the gym, even when I was like hungover, still would go to the gym. So going to the gym and showing up consistently and not breaking those promises to myself helped me build the confidence to actually approach a woman like Bella. So I really swear by it. You guys got to do it. So when I got back to Chicago, I wanted to take things to the next level, right? So I was still, at this point, I'm coaching myself, right? Still consistent at the gym, but I'm still not looking like how I wanted to look. And this is where I decided I was going to go on another bulk. So I wanted to put on some more size. And I started experimenting with SARMs as well. And the reason why I bring this up is because at the time I was about 29 now. I'm 29 years old. I was turning 29. And I just felt like I was running out of time to build the physique I really wanted to naturally. And I had been on and off doing this for so many years, right? And so I was just like, you know what? I'm going to experiment. I'm going to try some SARMs. I know my diet's on point. Everything's going to be on point. And also, I forgot to mention this earlier, I actually got my testosterone checked right before I got back to Chicago. And I had really low levels. I was just like, what the hell? So I was like, man, that must be the issue, is why I can't build as much muscle all these years as I thought. But they did not work out I didn't put on as much size as I thought I would, right? And I actually blew up. I blew up from 200 pounds to 245 pounds, and I looked like shit again. Like, I legitimately looked fat again. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I couldn't believe it, right? I was sitting there just like, just like, why? How did I get this way? And I was freaking out, right? But I was just, at the same time, I wasn't scared, though. Because I knew I was like, I'm not going to be fat again. I'm going to figure it out. This time, I'm going to figure it out, no matter what. So this is when I hired another coach. Because at this point, I'm like, you know what? Clearly, I can't bulk by myself, but I need help to get how I want to get lean-wise, right? And this time, I'm not stopping with that coach until I get the results I want, because I needed help. And when I hired my coach, he said to go get my blood work done after he found out I did SARMs. Get my blood work done. And my testosterone was not where it needed to be at all. And so at that point, we both decided that I was just going to hop on TRT. And that's what I did. And it was not as a shortcut, but, excuse me. It was not as a shortcut, but it was because I wanted to build muscle. I knew that my body was going to suffer trying to do it because I didn't have enough testosterone to do it. And I had tried increasing it naturally before at one point, and that did not work either. But I had already built like a good foundation. Like, I was already in the gym. Even though I got like fat again, I was still in the gym at when I needed to be. I was still tracking my calories. Like, I just didn't know what I was doing. So I just felt like, okay, I'm going to just do it. I'm going to lock in for life. Like, I don't care. And I think this is where most people, they don't really understand, right? This stuff just doesn't replace the work, right? It just amplifies it. That's why I talk heavily in my other content about enhancements, steroids. They do not do the work for you. If you don't have your diet in place, your blood work, your ancillaries, your training, your recovery, none of it works. They just enhance what you already do. And that is why I got into more biohacking, experimenting with peptides and things like that. So, with the proper training, the nutrition, and doing things the right way with my coach, I actually finally achieved the physique that I've been chasing my whole life, right? I got the abs. And it's so funny because I used to cope with myself and say, I don't need abs. And I used to say that because I was like, I like to drink beer, I like to eat food and all that. But it's just cope. I think it was really because I was running away from the actual work that I felt that took to get that lean. And so I went from 245 pounds, and I cut all the way down to 181. And when I did that, that was because I decided I wanted to go do a bodybuilding show. And I really wanted to push myself to see how far I could get with getting lean. And while I was doing this, getting this lean, I was on testosterone, I was on Primo, I was on retatrutide, and also sprinkled in a little bit of Mastron at some point, and a little bit of Anavar too. So I was making sure I was doing my blood work. We were monitoring everything, making sure that everything looked good, staying healthy while getting into the best shape of my life. And getting into that bodybuilding stage really pushed me to a point where it's something I didn't know I could do. If you would have told 280-pound Adam that I would have stepped on a bodybuilding chain and I had six-pack abs, he would have laughed at you. He would have said, no fucking way, dude. Like, that's impossible. How? But with consistency and discipline, anybody can do this. And anyway, I became the guy that, I always looked up to, right? And that's kind of why I do now. It's because I know exactly what it's like to be inconsistent and to lack that confidence, right? And not get the respect you want when you walk into a room. I've lived both sides, man. Nothing compares to like being that fat, overweight, super self-conscious, no confidence guy to the guy that walks into a room, people look at you with respect, they give you the head nod, you have all the confidence in the world to talk to any girl that you ever see. It's a different life. It truly is a different life, and there's nothing better, in my opinion. Natural and enhanced, right? So the difference too is like I just felt even more locked in when I got enhanced, and it's pretty crazy. And at the end of the day, what actually changed though, my life wasn't like motivation. It was discipline, it was structure, and it was keeping the promises to myself, like I mentioned before. By doing this, my life changed, right? By not breaking those promises, I became the man I wanted to be. I'm going to be the man I want to be for my future kids, for my family. I'm the only boy, so I put a lot of pressure on myself to help my family out at some point in my life. But it was just so much I put on myself. But by doing this is why I do what I do, right? It's to help the men that have dreamed their whole life that they could be this strong, powerful guy. And they never were, but if I can do it, you can. And that's kind of why I do it, right? It's to show you guys that, like, it's never too late, ever. You gotta just really, really just lock in. And sometimes you just gotta give up what you need to gotta give up. Like for me, I had to give up alcohol and partying. I spent a lot of my 20s wasting time doing that shit. And it literally held me back from the physique I've wanted for so many years. And that's another reason why I do what I want. I do what I do. It's because I don't want it to take you guys years. I want you guys to get there way faster than I ever did. Because the way I did it, it took forever, man. Like making all those mistakes. I could have been in shape way beforehand, you know what I mean? But I just was fucking around. I didn't want to give a booze, and all, that sort of thing. You know, I just wasn't locked in. So, if you are where I was, you don't need more information because the information is out there. It's on, you can chat GPT, a nutrition plan, a workout plan. You can do all this. The problem is you need a system. You need a proven system, and that's what I help guys build every single day. I help them build it so that it fits their life, so they're not in the gym for 2 to 3 hours a day. They don't hate what they eat, so they're not eating chicken and rice every single day. It fits in where you still are able to have a little bit of fun. I'm not saying you need to give up alcohol completely, but if you want to get to where you want to get, you'll probably sacrifice it. But you can still have a drink here and there. But the goal is really for it to be structured in a way that it is possible for you to stick to, right? And then I'm here for accountability because a lot of people struggle with that. It's hard to do it by yourself. So I help you build that, and I want to help you do that. So thank y'all for tuning into my story. This is why I do what I do. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you guys later.